my recap for Dexter Season 4, Episode 4, entitled Dex Takes a Holiday. In this episode, Dexter's family has to leave town, so it's just him left at home for the weekend, 3 days, and he decides to kind of rejuvenate by finding his next victim. His next victim in this episode happens to be another female cop at a different department. She supposedly killed her family. She had a daughter and her husband, and Dexter is pretty sure she killed these individuals, so he pulls her case file and goes to visit her house because her house is up for sale where this happened, and he decides to go compare notes and see if he can find some evidence. While he's there, he does end up finding some blue latex from a glove in her garbage disposal. Now, he noticed that she had gloves, and he was looking for gloves in the house because when he was looking at the crime photos, they could see in her hand where she had blood running down her arm. There was a line around her hands where there could have been gloves, but they never recovered any gloves that night. So Dexter is able to get a piece of evidence, and he is able to match it down at the police department and find out that she did, in fact, commit the crime. While he's there at the house, though, she shows up and starts giving Dexter a tour of the house, and she ends up hitting on Dexter. Later on, pulls him over in a car, and in his car, and lets him know that, I know you're looking into my case. I have some friends at the police department who said you pulled the case file. Just leave me alone. I'm grieving. Basically, don't bother me anymore. So he does end up looking into her some more, and she gets upset about this. So Dexter realizes that she needs to be in control and decides to take her control away. Tricks her into going to his house to kill him, basically to get rid of him. She not only killed her family, but the guy she blamed it on also ended up dead in a drug deal like the next day after she had killed her family. So she's covering her tracks. So now she's going to cover her tracks with Dexter. She shows up at his house, gives him a little bit of a fight, and he does end up subduing her and, getting rid of her. So he had to work for this one. There's a little bit of cat and mouse going on with him and this female police officer. We also had a little bit with the Trinity storyline where Trinity is getting ready to do his third kill. We've also got Lundy, who's hot on his tail, understanding what the third murder is. He goes to this building where this murder was committed, and lo and behold, coming out of the building at the time is the Trinity killer. Now, Lundy doesn't know this, but Trinity knows that Lundy is looking for him. So he kind of bumps into him and then gets onto a bus. Lundy knows that he's acting weird because he actually bumps into him. And Lundy starts making notes about this individual. And, Trinity feels like he's getting cornered. So at the end of this episode, we had Deborah ends up sleeping with Lundy. She has a conversation with Antone earlier in the episode, and she's like, you don't have to worry about Lundy. He's an old coworker. There's nothing going on. But then later, she admits to Lundy that, yeah, I still have a thing for you. They slept together, and when they were coming out of the hotel and they were going back to their vehicles, shots ring out, and you get Deborah who gets shot in her side, and you get Lundy who gets shot dead there, right there in that moment. So we know Trinity's involved to get rid of him. So that's where the episode fades to black. We also had a little bit to do with Batista, and we have LaGuerta and their relationship. They're debating on whether or not to make it public, and both LaGuerta and Batista go to Dexter for advice. So those are really the only three storylines in this episode. So there wasn't a whole lot to move the storyline further. This was just about kind of wrapping up the story with Lundy and learning just how evil Trinity can be. There was also one interesting scene with Trinity at one point where he's outside of like a gym, and he ends up provoking one of the guys leaving, calling him nasty names and getting him to beat him up. So we don't know why he wanted to be beat. But at the time, he kept telling this individual, it's your fault, that this is happening. It's your fault. So we don't know what that's all about yet. Obviously, there's some deeper-seated things going on with Trinity, but we're a third of the way through the season, and that's where episode 4 ends. So again, this episode was titled Dex Takes a Holiday. If you like the video, please hit the like button. subscribe, hit the notification bell. You will be notified as new videos go up. I do appreciate it.